It's time to process some lamb fleece. So we are back at it again. It's the beginning of March, and of course it's come to my attention that we're almost to shearing season again. And so with that comes that panic of, I haven't finished washing last year's fleeces. So this year, I'm going to take you through a different method. Above, we're going to link the video from this time last year when we were washing fleece and the method that I used. Now, it came to my attention from a couple viewer comments that there was questions on my method, which was washing in boiling hot water and rinsing in cold. Now, the reason I did this was so that I had some pre-shrinkage before spinning. And that became a concern with felting. Now, I've been doing that method for 6 years now and never had an issue. But I thought, you know what, let's do a little bit of research, let's do an experiment. So I then went to Google, you know, that handy dandy thing that it is, and looked it up, and a lot of people recommended not doing the sharp change of temperature from wash to rinse because of felting. And I thought, well, let's give it a try and let's see, because if I don't know any better, then I can't make a real educated decision on whether I was doing the best method. So we've done a couple times now, and now I'm going to take you through it. It works very, very well. To be honest, I love both methods, but I thought I would share this one with you as well. It does not do the shrinkage on the yarn as well as what you get when you do the hot to cold. So one thing I do recommend is if you're going to use this method, which is wash in hot, rinse in hot, you need to then, once you spin your fleece, do a shock wash there. So with your yarn, you're going to take it from hot water to cold, ice cold water to shrink that yarn before you knit something with it. So it kind of puts a little extra step in, but at the same time, the fleece is amazing to work with. So we're going to take you through it and just show you how it turns out. So what we have here are 2 lamb fleeces that we actually took off the sheep this spring. This is a nice solid black, even though it does go brown, they all do that. And this was a beautiful gray from Tony, which we did do a video on as well, talking about his horns. So we'll link that above as well. But basically where we start, these are raw fleeces. We've weighed them, so we have about 3 pounds of fleece all together here. That's one thing about a lamb fleece, is you don't get as much as what we get off of our full-size animals or ewes. But all you really need is boiling hot water and Dawn dish soap. Now, if you don't have access to Dawn dish soap, anyone will work, but you want it to break down oils and greases. So basically, now I do this just by eyeball, but it's about 2 tablespoons in the bottom. I kind of do it till it covers the bottom. Just like that. I'm doing 2 at a time because, well, why not? And then on my oven, I've got my canning pots running with boiling hot water. All we're going to do here is I use a measuring cup and just scoop, and over it goes. You want to get these full enough that once you put that fleece in, you don't have to pour on top of it. You don't want to agitate your fleece after it's in there. So I do think that is one of the key ways to success with washing your own fleece, is not to get that water running over it, because believe me, it will felt then. Basically, just grab a handful. All you're doing is submerging it. It doesn't even have to have room to move because you're not moving it. Essentially, once it's in the pot, into that water, all you're doing is just pushing it down so that the whole fleece is completely in that water. But don't stir it, don't twirl it, resist the urge to turn it. All you're doing is soaking it and letting that, I guess it's kind of a degreasing dish soap, do what it's supposed to do. If I push that down, you can already see, can you see how gross that water is? Ew. That's where it's very important to make sure that we get this quite rinsed out after. But from this point, you're going to let this sit for 15 minutes. Let that the oils and stuff and dirt really come out, and then we're going to come back and drain it and show you the next bit. We are 15 minutes in, and you can see it's still steaming. That water's still hot. You don't want to leave it till this water starts to cool off, or you will have a really gross, messy sludge. But at this point, I have an old cookie sheet that I just put over my second sink. It works great. If you don't have that option, you could just use a bucket, something like that. But I just take it at this point and put it over there to somewhat start to drain. As you can see, it's still basically in its little pieces. I don't agitate, don't rub it around. We're just going to give our bucket a little rinse here. So now my next step is I do the 3 liters again of the boiling hot water to rinse it. Now the fleece I was working with was very clean for raw fleece. When you get it out that it still is very dirty looking, you could wash this one more time with the soap. It's just another step. I find for the most part I don't need to do it. I skirt my fleece very well, so there is very little that's usually quite dirty. But I just give it an extra squeeze, get as much of that liquid out as I can, and then just put it back in. And again, same thing. No stirring or agitating, just kind of press it in so that it goes into that water so that it can all rinse. And again, you're going to let it sit for 10-15 minutes, whatever you feel is adequate, and then you're going to drain it. This is the end of first rinse. You can see that water is still pretty nasty. Same process. This has been sitting for about 15 minutes. We're just going to rinse out our bowl. Put fresh water. Again, we're sticking with the hot water. In my previous method, I would have now switched to cold water in order to do the shock of, which causes a bit of shrinkage. So we're doing 3 liters thereabouts. Once it gets pretty clean, you don't need as much. We were just saying this process goes through a lot of water. But just squeeze out what we can. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Do not agitate this. You just want to plop it in again and get it so that it goes under the water. And we're going to let it sit again. Time for the final rinse, which we have done. It's just about cooled off. Not cooled off, but it's, I can almost touch it. You can see that's come out quite nice and clean. Right there. I'm not going to demonstrate on this one because it's quite hot, but I did sneak ahead and pour one out ahead of time for us. But you can see here, it's light, fluffy, not felted at all. You still want to be very careful at this stage not to pull it around too much and agitate because it can still felt. But as you can see, clean, light and fluffy. You're still going to end up with some debris in there. Some places there's seeds or a bit of hay, that sort of thing. But at this point now, we're going to take it to our makeshift drying rack and let that dry. And we'll bring you back kind of a couple stages through the drying process to just show you how we deal with it and what it looks like at the end. Our lighting is not fantastic because we're getting into the evening here, but I wanted to demonstrate a fleece that needs a second wash. So here we have our first wash and soak done. And when I lift this out, you will see what I mean about it needs another one. If I lift it out, look at that disgusting water. So Spanish's fleece here definitely needs another round, and we're going to do that. And then I will bring you back and show you the water after the second round. It's what it should look like if you're not going to do, if you're only going to do the one soap. But I'll bring you back in a sec. Here we are after a second soak in soapy water. And this is going to be more like what Tony's, the gray fleece, looked like after the first wash. You can see here, it's still pretty brown, but not nearly as dark and saturated as the first one. I think we're good to go ahead now with our 2 hot rinses, and I'm pretty sure that it'll be running clean after that. There's no more clumps in here. The fleece is looking smooth. It's got a lot of soap still in there, so I think there'll still be a lot more come out of this as we do our rinse. So we have Spanish's fleece all done. Again, using that same method. You can see there's some hay and some matter in there, but all in all, for how filthy it was, came clean. There's still a little bit of soap. I never really worry about that. You can't get it all out. But you can see here, still pulls apart very, very easily. No felting or anything like that. So we're going to squeeze out whatever excess water we can and put this on the drying rack also. And we will bring you to the drying rack tomorrow morning when there's a little bit better light. So here we have both fleece from Tony and from Spanish. These have been on the drying rack for most of today. We're about, what? I don't know, almost a full 24 hours from when we washed them. And you can see here it's very, very light and fluffy. 2 hands and just kind of pull it apart. Comes apart with very little effort. So I'm going to take all this fleece here and I'm going to kind of pull it apart and fluff it up and see if we can get it all dried out by tomorrow. We keep it beside the wood stove on its rack, so this guy's here is a little bit denser. It's interesting because they actually are very different fleeces. This black one here has a lot of the undercoat, which will make it very, very nice and soft. It is very nice and soft already. Where the gray one has a lot more of the longer hair. So it's actually drying a lot quicker than that one. But we'll bring you back tomorrow and we'll see how we do with having this ready to spin. We are 2 days past washing, and actually we're on the morning of the 3rd day. And we still have a little bit of dampness in this fleece, so it's not quite ready for spinning yet, but I'll tell you what, it's turned out beautiful. So definitely a method I do recommend giving a try. Like I said, you just need that extra step because there really is no shrinkage in this yet. So let's take a look. So you can see there, look at that. That's going to card so beautifully. It's light, fluffy. Like I say, it's a little bit damp still in some of these clumps, but look at how easily I'm barely even pulling. So give this method a try. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Earlier in the video, I did put in the link for my original fleece cleaning method, and I will put that also at the end of the video as our video to follow through with. But definitely love this method. Still love the old method though, because like I said, when I'm making certain things, it's nice to have the pre-shrinkage done. But I'm going to make sure that I wash this up and do my little shock once I've got it spun. So stay tuned to see what this turned out like in another video.